Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Living Astrology with Janet Hickox. It's time to grab your cup of coffee. I need a freaking gallon of this morning. Sit back so we can chat about what is happening up in the stars above. So, it has been an eventful week for the Hickoxes and our extended family. Um, and the hits keep coming. I mean, almost anymore. I don't even know what to say. Right? Yesterday, let me go backwards. Last Friday, right, I saw a message pop up while I was doing my broadcast from my brother-in-law in Eastern Washington, and I couldn't read it. It went by too fast, and I just thought I'm almost done with the show, so we'll wait. And it turns out that my sister had been admitted to the hospital again, and that this time they were releasing her from the hospital to hospice care, which means the end is near. So Terry and I left to go to Eastern Washington. We stayed there over the weekend, and she was in and out. Death is not pretty, and the process of dying, I guess. It seems like death itself is actually the release, but the process is just it's not for the faint of heart, let me tell you that. And so I came home Monday night and intending to go back because I don't know how much longer she'll be here. And I got a call Tuesday morning from my brother-in-law saying she's bad, really bad. So Heather, my daughter, and I left on Wednesday. Today's Friday. Must have been Wednesday left. Yeah, it was Wednesday we left to go back over the mountains to see what was happening. Terry couldn't go this time, so she went with me. And yesterday morning, we get this urgent phone call. Her father-in-law, who's 94 years old, fell in the bathroom in the middle of the night. Nobody knew he'd fallen, and he broke a hip. And he was already on hospice himself because his heart was shutting down. And so there's not a thing they can do for his broken hip, and it is an ugly break. Wow. When I looked at the x-ray, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Like a chunk of the hip fell off or broke off. So they've sent him home in a hospital bed, and he's there just waiting to die is what I'm thinking. I mean, there's nothing that they can do for him. And he's 94, so he's not a candidate for surgery, and he's having a heart issue anyway. And then this morning, I get a message from my daughter, Heather, the same one whose father-in-law is dying, that her husband is having a heart attack and he's in the hospital and he's only 42. Today is his birthday. I'm beyond what the bleep anymore. I mean, it's just too much, right? At first, when she said he was in the hospital with heart pain, chest pain, we thought it was just stress related because it's his father that's dying. And no, now they're realizing it's likely a heart attack. So they're giving him medicine to break up clots and all of that. And it's not surprising, right, that this kind of stuff, this level of stuff is happening in the window of these eclipses that are coming up. And the first eclipse, of course, isn't until Monday, with the full moon. But a full moon is always like the most crazy part of it all because the full moon eclipse is the one that brings, the things to a close. It might be bringing death in the case of maybe my sister and perhaps Chris's father. It could be, the opening of a window, a door, a gateway that takes them, to the other side. I don't know. I don't know. But I just knew I had to come on this morning to talk about some of this stuff because if I'm having these intense sort of experiences, likely some of you out there might be having them too. In my own personal chart, these eclipses are across the axis of home and family and work and service, right? So it's it's exactly what's happening, right? My family concerns are taking me away from my work, And then while I'm with them, I'm feeling the stress and the pull to come back and do my work, to be there for everyone in the world, doing what I do, doing, whatever I can to help the greater number of people out there. And then boom, I'm pulled right back into the family stuff. And this is what happens with eclipse patterns because they happen across an axis, right? So nothing ever just happens in one little tiny spot in a chart. It's always across an axis. So the fourth and the 10th house in my case, right? The 10th house being my career, my profession, the fourth house, its opposite being home and family obligations and family responsibility, roots, and all of that. So you can see how that tugs across, but all, wherever you all are having this in your chart, you're likely having the same, maybe not the same level of stuff going on in my family at the moment, but the same kind of tug of war, right? Where you're being pulled in these opposite directions. And, you know, all you can do is just be there for each person in your life that is either a part of the experience with you or that you're a part of their experience, and try to remain calm. This is Aries Libra kind of energies that are popping up for these eclipses. And the very fact it's in Aries brings the fire to it, right? Brings the whole unexpected nature, the need for courage, the need for staying uh, activated. And Libra, of course, trying to balance, right? Trying to balance and harmonize everything to try to stay in some kind of harmony. So difficult when you're being pulled from one side to the other. And I hope it's not this difficult for all of you out there. I really do. Because it is just one of those times that you just are like, don't ask the question, what else, right? Just don't, because you might find out. So today we're going to talk about where the moon is right now. And then today as well, Mars, the planet of action that rules Aries, is moving into Pisces. So that's cooling his jets a bit. And I'm not sure if that leads to more frustration and anger that's being, pushed down, or if that leads to more, kind of steaminess, right? Explosion kind of energy going on. But we'll explore that a bit. And then on Sunday, we have Venus in a sextile to Jupiter. It's a lovely transit. I'm hoping that that kind of modifies some things. And then, of course, Monday, the eclipse. And we're going to talk a lot about that because I do not know where I will be on Monday and whether or not I will be able to do a broadcast. So I want to make sure you have everything you need to know for as much as I can give you at this moment in time. Good morning to all of you who are checking in. Tom, yikes. I think that is probably one of the best words I could use to describe, what is going on, at least in my life. Good morning, Pam. Good morning, Debbie Tibbetts Tumiel. Thank you very much for the prayers, Debbie. Julie, good morning to you. LS, aka Chester's mom. Hello. It's great to see you with us this morning. Pam says, oh, thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Amy D, hello to you. And Terry Lee Strauss, good morning. And all your prayers are absolutely welcome. And it is it is actually good to be here to bring some kind of normalcy to my day. Um, Tom says it's a second and eighth house axis for him, and that is the axis of self-worth, money that you earn, and the eighth house, legacy money, inheritance money, right? Taking care of other people's resources. So, Tom, I can see how that's totally playing into your life at the moment too. I just, I want to say, I just want it to be over, right? It is so hard to see family suffer, people you love suffering through the end of life. And it's not just, the person who's dying, but it's the family, right? The people around them who also are in the suffering mode. And I just have to keep remembering that I can bring the light. I don't have to go down the rabbit hole. I can stay there and present for whatever it is that's happening in whatever moment that it's happening. And that's all I can do. But I can tell you, driving back and forth across the mountains It's exhausting. It's like a 4.5 hour drive, and then you get there and, you're kind of wrung out, and I've done that now 4 times this week. Back and forth, and I'm gonna do it again. I'll stay home for the weekend unless my sister passes away, so anyway, let's talk about the astrology of the moment. So I was interested this morning to see that the moon had transited out of Leo and was now into Virgo. And the moon transits through Virgo, of course, bring this need, and I'm feeling it big time, to bring order to our emotions. Right? The Virgo is an earth sign. It's not that it's not emotional. It's not that they don't express emotions, but there's much more an energy of meticulousness and practicality and groundedness and organization, right? And it doesn't leave much room then for all of the emotional stuff. And I could so feel it. I should have known it was in Virgo this morning because I was like, okay, we're going to put the emotions in a box for now so that I can be present for whatever it is that I need to do for whomever it is that I need to do it. So we might feel like, to me, being on air this morning was a way to keep myself organized, right? Very Virgo. I have the moon in Virgo anyway. And it just helped me to keep things going in an order, some semblance of order in my life. But Virgo also brings a focus on health and well-being. And, I was thinking about this as, we were talking about what was going on with my son-in-law, and I'm thinking he's relatively healthy. I mean, he's very active, and it would have been really weird to me if he was having a heart attack. So I was kind of, hoping that wasn't the case. Um, but, where things are out of balance, the universe or the greater good seeks to bring it into balance, seeks to bring it into harmony. So during this transit, we can become much more aware of the physical need or the needs of our body for physical well being, the needs even of our emotional selves for well being. It doesn't mean we won't. It doesn't, the emotions aren't gone just because we're in a practical earthy sign. It just means we're putting them maybe in their right and perfect place. But, this experience that I've been having with my family in their health, this totally made me go, what else can I do to support my own health? What else can I do? Right? So, self-care, a big part of that, right? Taking care of yourself and your overall health and your diet and seeing the doctors when you need to, or your health care professionals when you need to. The moon here is also very analytical in its thinking. It's critical thinking, right? Being able to break down the pieces and put the pieces back together. It's problem solving, solutions oriented. There's an efficiency factor here with the moon in Virgo as well, doing things in the easiest way, or the most prudent way, or the most expedient way, right? The best way to get through something. It is a service to others kind of transit as well. Having my own natal moon in Virgo, that's what I've just kept, as much as I was in resistance to taking that second trip back over the mountains, I was like, that is, my brother-in-law is asking for me. So I'm going, right? He needs the support. So service to others, a big thing with the moon the next couple of days while she's transiting through the sign of Virgo. Sensitivity here is different than it is, say, in Pisces, the opposite sign, where in Pisces, we're the ones being sensitive to what other people are experiencing, and we experience that like through empathy or compassion. In Virgo, it's our own personal sensitivity to criticism, or the impact that each of us has on other people when we are in sort of a criticizing point of a conversation. So we want to be very careful about that, especially because the Earth right now is in the gate 18 in our human design, and the gate 18 sits on the spleen center, which is the center for survival, right? Health, intuition, the immune system, and it's a gate called, in traditional human design, called perfection. And it is a place where we can sometimes become very critical of others, right? We not because we want to be mean, nasty, and ugly to people. No, but we see where something is just out of order. And if we tell them about it and they, come back into order, things would be perfect, right? So it's very analytical and critical place that the earth is sitting in. But it's also a fear gate. And that's this is the time of year. I think I spoke about this a couple of weeks ago where this time of year from March through April and the first week in May, the earth moves through all of the gates of the spleen, bringing us into an awareness of the shadow energies or the fear energies that are a part of our DNA, literally, right? Our DNA. And how we can bring consciousness to those gates, to those energies, and move them to the positive expression. So here we have this fear of not being perfect, and the only antidote for that is seeing perfection is what it is in any given moment. Otherwise, it would be different. Right? It would be that much better, or it could be worse. Right? So we just recognize where it is that perfection is in this moment. And then we also have routine and order. And this is a big part of the moon transiting through Virgo. Order, routine keeps us healthy, but also can help us when life is getting crazy, right? When you have all these crazy things going around in your life, this can help us stay in the right lane, providing a sort of sense of stability or security in our lives. So, overall, while the moon is transiting through the sign of Virgo, it's a time for us to be practical, to get organized or to reorganize, if you will. I think we're also, yeah, we are now totally in the shadow of Mercury's next retrograde. So, again, it's a time for reevaluation, reorganization, those types of things. So, that works well with this Virgo moon, and embrace opportunities to improve yourself, to improve the lives of others, to prioritize your health and your well being, and then to see a path to helping others in practical ways. Just be mindful of not being overly perfectionistic, critical, or overly analytical. Strive for balance in all things right now, especially when, you know, we might have this sense that if I just kept working and working and working, then I can ignore all of the other stuff that's going on. The problem with that is it's one-sided. So we have to balance the production orientedness of this moon with the need for self-care and nurturing of this moon. Okay. Awesome. So the next big news today, it hasn't happened yet. When I pulled the chart this morning, Mars was sitting at 29 degrees, 42 minutes of Aquarius. And that means soon he will be out of the 29th degree and on into, which makes me think about my son in law because his birthday is today. And that puts him at, very early degrees of Aries. And Mars, the ruler of Aries, moving into a different sign could be putting the pressure on him. So Mars moving into Pisces, and it brings a sort of unique blend of energies to the plate, but some that are not all that comfortable because Mars is traditionally known for assertiveness, for dynamic motion, right? For the energy of movement and taking action. And there's passion here in the planet Mars. While Pisces is known for sensitivity and that warm, fuzzy feeling, compassion and empathy, intuition, imagination. So during this period of time, what we might expect, and Mars will be here for about 6 weeks. So this is an energy that will take up the background noise for a while. There's a sense of heightened heightened sensitivity, right, to all things, whether that's emotional, whether that's psychic, whether that's just energetic, being energetically sensitive. But I also want you to understand that with the moon moving through Virgo right now, this can also be a more sensitive body, right? Your own body being more sensitive to anything that you put into it, food and anything you drink, any drugs that you might take, the environment that you might find yourself in. You're very sensitive at this point, and this is just heightening that sensitivity. Um, Now, Mars in Pisces is much more passive energy than active energy, which is where the frustration can come from. Because Pisces is an energy that just kind of doesn't necessarily see the need to take action in this moment, Mars wants to take action in every moment, right? Wants to push, wants to be bold and step forward. Pisces tends to be more passive and takes an indirect approach. It's a water sign. So instead of heading straight on to pursue your goals, we might, find ourselves sort of moving around the sideways approach. Um, Charging forward aggressively toward anything is not going to work. In fact, if anything, that can bring up more conflict during this period of time. So if you want to achieve something during these next few weeks, then you might want to take a more passive or quiet approach to doing that, right? Or take a very intuitive approach. Take a sense of what is opening up and what isn't pathway wise, and choose the one that is going to get you there, but don't barrel through things and push your way into something. Because I think then you're just going to have to navigate more challenges, right? There's going to be more coming up. This is a sign that is associated with spirituality, right? God or beliefs or philosophies, all of that kind of thing. So there might be a time where we're more interested in the mystical, in the transcendent nature of life. And during this transit, we may feel more inclined to be spiritual or to amp up our spiritual practices, maybe doing more in a meditation sort of sense or exploring spiritual ideas and ideals. Mars in Pisces can inspire us to seek deeper meaning, the deeper meaning in life, seeking more connection. And that is an interesting thing here also in the context of the eclipses. We're walking into an eclipse window. Emotional boundaries, right? Mars in Pisces, there's a tendency for us to absorb the emotions of others. And then we can become overwhelmed by what we're feeling, right? The sadness, the anger, the upset, the happiness and joy, even of what others are feeling. And we could become overwhelmed by all of that emotional stimulus that's coming in. So make sure you're setting healthy boundaries during this time. Know where you start and end, and the other person starts and ends. um, Taking care of yourself. I want to just drill that one in. Self-care, self-care, self-care. Take that break, right? I'm in the midst of all of these chaotic things, and I just found myself stepping out, like getting out of the house. So I wasn't hearing my sisters yelling and screaming. It wasn't that I was avoiding it, it was that I needed to take space, right? I needed to have time to breathe and get away from it all. And we may all be feeling that in some way, shape, or form over the next few weeks. But we also have to watch on the other end the potential for escapism. Neptune is the ruling planet of Pisces, and Neptune rules escapism, the dream world, right? And wanting to escape. So we want to balance the need for our own space, our own time, our own self care, but not doing it in a way that is an escapist sort of thing. So overall, Mars in Pisces is heightened sensitivity on all levels. It's heightened creativity as well, right? I would expect to have brilliant ideas or, feel like we want to express ourselves more creatively. It is also a good time for spiritual exploration, but it's essential to balance the energies of the more passive Piscean dream world and the Martian aggression and assertiveness. We have to be able to stay grounded. We want to be able to stay within healthy boundaries and channel any of the frustration, anger that we're feeling into maybe being constructively creative, right? Into constructive creativity, um, or compassionate pursuits, helping take care of others, right? It's not a bad transit, it's just Mars is tied up a little bit when he moves through a water sign, right? So that is Pisces, that is Cancer, and that is Scorpio. Except he's the ruler of Scorpio, so he's less tied down there. So it's just a generator of some steam, if you will, and a generator of some frustration, perhaps. So learning to take care of yourself That's a good one, Christine. I just saw detaching with love and self-care are much needed. Definitely, right? Not detaching in a way where you're, becoming emotionally unattached, but you are, just detaching sometimes from that drama, from, the pain, the wound of what is happening all around, right? That's an important thing for us to remember in these crazy days, right? Okay. Now, let's talk about Sunday. Sunday. Venus in Pisces forming a sextile with Jupiter in Taurus. Now, a sextile is a harmonizing aspect, and these are the two benefic planets, right? Venus and Jupiter, we call them the greater benefics, for right or wrong, right? They just seem to bring smoother waters to sail, right? So Venus in Pisces, very spiritual, very creative, right? Imaginative. Jupiter in Taurus, grounding our expansion, grounding our growth into all things Taurus, right? So, first thing that comes to mind in a sextile like this is that we're expanding love and relationship. I can tell you that. How old am I? 62. And I cannot remember ever having a better relationship with my brother in law than I do right now. And he's always been very stoic and sort of standoffish, but he has been in this situation with my sister for so long, he's starved for connection. And we had some amazing talks over the last few days. And I've gotten to know him, like I said, a whole lot better in this short time than I've known him all my life, right? It's pretty darn amazing. So we're expanding in this kind of time period we're in. Even though it's crazy and it's chaotic and it's shocking and weird things are happening, we're expanding love, right? We're expanding our relationships. I mean, that's what Jupiter is representing here, the expansion of love and abundance and growth in our own character, watching how other people grow through the same experiences. And this has enhanced our relationships as well as our creativity and inspiration. So, Venus in Pisces is deeply creative. And Jupiter provides the stability, the grounding to bring your creations into reality. So it's a favorable time for us to bring creation into reality, right? Not just the idea realm, but bringing it into the real realm. There might be even financial opportunities coming up with this. I was kind of one thing I can't stand about my brother-in-law is he is on a steady diet of Fox News. Oh my lord. This is another reason why I would have to leave and not stay in that atmosphere. It's amazing to me how I don't watch news, so I don't know. Is Fox just totally one-sided? I mean, because all they always bashed Biden, and there was always this whole, everything is bad in this world and it's all Biden's fault. I don't know if the other ones are all it's that way or not because I don't listen, but I would have to get out of that, right? Because if you're surrounding yourself with a steady diet of that kind of downer news, then you are undermining your well-being, right? I just wanted to go. In fact, I turned the TV off as much as I could, and I turned around, and it was back on again. So I was fighting a losing battle with that one. But then he would turn the game shows on, and that was a whole lot better than watching Fox News. um, but okay, I digress. So, financial opportunities, Taurus is, of course, associated with material wealth and resources. And when Jupiter, the planet of abundance, is moving through Taurus, we can expect some things to go up. Oh, now I know what the segue was. Is that I noticed listening to Fox News that the stock market was performing pretty well. So, not surprising, right? Jupiter still in Taurus. And there is a sense of some volatility in the markets and so forth. But, this particular connection can bring, Venus rules money, Jupiter rules abundance. So we have money in abundance. We have opportunities in abundance, perhaps, due to this particular transit. And, with a sextile being the aspect that's putting these two together, it can almost feel like you're living a charmed sort of existence, right? That things are just coming so easy. And I kind of like that. There's this generosity feeling too, and benevolence. That's another good word I was thinking during this transit, where these things that are the good parts of our lives are also interacting and are a much welcome counterbalance to all the crazy, right? That's happening too. Of course, there's sensuality involved here with both Venus in Pisces and Jupiter in Taurus. Taurus is a sign of sensuality in terms of the physical, and Pisces more of the spiritual, right? Sensing what's beyond and all of that. And there's the potential for more optimism and a positive outlook, might, being able to see things in a better light, even if it's darkness, right? Just being able to be that light. So this transit is activated now already. I mean, they're close enough now and through Sunday into the full moon window. Let me actually look at the full moon chart. I've got it sitting here. Venus will be at 16 degrees of Pisces and Jupiter at 15 degrees of Taurus. So even through this full moon lunar eclipse window, they're still in that sextile. So that can kind of be um, softening, if you will, maybe of some of the energies that an eclipse can stir up, some of the chaos stirred up by the eclipses. So overall, it's a favorable alignment between the two planets and bringing us opportunities perhaps for growth, for more spiritual connection, for expansion. We've got to be careful about that just because we're in the shadow of Mercury retrograde. So we don't want to go too far too fast. Sometimes we feel so good. We just like, okay, if I can walk a mile today, I'll walk 10 tomorrow. And, might be too far too fast, right? So spending too much money, not enough money, usually it's too much. So just watch, try to keep those things balanced. Embrace blessings, right? Every day is a blessing. Embrace gratitude. These are also Taurus qualities, gratitude and blessings, and make the most of the positive energy that is available during this period of time. All right, questions. Let me take a look out here and see. I gotten out of my routine, so I'm forgetting all about where I am. Jamon, hello. And Teddy, nice to see you. I know it is raining in spades. I don't know if you heard that Chris is in the hospital with what they think is a heart attack. Tom, I call my Virgo rising my picture straightener. Indeed, indeed, indeed. Um, so let's see. How do you get your whites so white? My whites so white. Are you talking about my shirt? Because it's really light pink. My teeth? They're kind of not so white. Or are you talking about my hair? Oh. Happy Friday to you too, J-Lo. It's good to see you. And it's essentially brainwashing, sadly, Christine says. But I just wonder, I mean, I don't watch the news because I don't want to be brainwashed. I just wonder, are the other channels doing that too? It just kind of blew me away. Um, the equinox was on the 19th. Equinox is the beginning of Aries and a new season, yet the ephemeris says the 21st. Yes. What ephemeris? Because really you know, the equinox from an astrological standpoint happens when the sun gets to 0 degrees of Aries. Let me look at my ephemeris sitting here because let's see here. March. When did the sun move into 0 Aries? It does say on the 21st. You're right. That would have been yesterday. Hold the phone. So right now the sun is sitting at 2 Aries. Today's the 22nd. That is bizarre. I'd have to check a couple of different ephemerises, Pam, to check that out because the spring equinox should have meant that it was on the 19th. And I know it was late on the 19th. At least I think on the East Coast it was 11:58 p.m. So, very close to March 20th. So we'll check that out a little bit more. The American ephemeris. This is the Swiss ephemeris, and it's the same thing. I don't know. Things that we should find out, right? Or research. Anyway, let's talk about this lunar eclipse coming up. And it's a penumbral lunar eclipse, which means that the moon, isn't covering everything completely. So we'll still see some light around the moon. And I'm not even sure that it's visible across the world. I'm sorry, I haven't even looked that up to see where it would be visible from. I just know that it is happening at well, the full moon anyway is happening on the 22nd today. Oh no, that's the day I drew up the chart. Oh Lord, scared me there. Um, it is happening at 3 a.m. East Coast time on March 25th, and that's Universal Time 7 a.m. And that would be midnight for those of us on the West Coast. So we might be able to see it if we get up, right? If we get up and go look for it. So that eclipse is interesting because we still have that weird pattern going on where we have all of most of the planets down in what I think of as an umbrella. Here's the picture of it, right? Where I've got this upside down so that you could see the moon up here holding the space of the handle of the umbrella, while all of the rest of the planets, or most of the planets, down there at the bottom in the bucket, if you will. Sometimes this is a bucket pattern. I like to think of it as the umbrella because it's so obviously an umbrella in the picture if you draw it. And that means that that's where some of this intensity, even right now, before we get to the eclipse, is happening, because there's so many planets down there in the bucket, right? And they're all jangling around and interacting and, um, you know, bringing a sort of intensity to the experiences that you're having, or the potential for those experiences. It also depends on how this looks in your own personal chart. So this is a chart of the eclipse itself. This isn't any person's chart. So if I were to put this over my own chart, I would see that the moon is holding the space of the fourth house in my chart, and home and family, and that the sun during that eclipse is going to be holding the space of the career house. Is it any wonder, I'm feeling that pull between those two places. Tom, in your case, so you have a Virgo rising. So Libra, the moon is holding the space in your second house, while the sun is then shining on the eighth house in the chart. So it brings some intensity to those particular areas in your chart. And on top of that, Mars, that during the eclipse is in a semi-sextile with Pluto, with both of them at 1 degrees. Pluto 1 degree of Aquarius, and in fact, that's almost exact. 1 degree 45 minutes in Aquarius, while Mars is at 147 of Pisces during the eclipse. And remember, a semi-sextile is a 30-degree relationship. And that always brings up the need for us to cooperate or to collaborate. It's a very sort of Libran theme that Mars and Pluto hold during the eclipse period of time. And then if we look at the sun and the moon, who are the main drivers of the eclipse, we see the sun is at the moon and sun are each at 5 degrees 7 minutes of their signs. So the sun at 5 degrees of Aries and the moon at 5 degrees of Libra. And there are planets that are sort of close, but they're not exactly, conjunct, but they're all sort of jumbled together. Remember, I said this is that umbrella pattern. And if you see that's the sun that I've highlighted down there. And to the left of the sun, to going the direction is Neptune, Venus, Saturn, and Mars. And going to the right, so that direction, you can't see my hand, that direction is the North Node, Chiron, Mercury, and Eris. So they're all jumbled down there. It's hard to tease out exactly what might be going on for this particular moon. Um, so normally I would say, it has to be a certain closeness between the planets in order to be activated. But because there's so many all a jumble there, it could be anything. It's like tossing the dice, right? Or tossing up, the balls and seeing where they're going to land, because that's kind of the chaotic nature of this particular moon. And then, there are sextiles going on between uh, Jupiter and Saturn and Venus, right? So that kind of makes things work a little better, right? Brings some cooling, if you will, to it. There is just so much. Let's talk about specifically about the eclipse, though. And what is an eclipse? An eclipse occurs, a lunar eclipse occurs when the Earth herself is passing between the sun and the moon. And it causes the Earth's shadow to partially or completely cover the moon, right? That's the mechanics of it all. Astrologically, we consider them portents of things to come, or potent symbols of the changes to come. A lunar eclipse happening at a full moon tells the story of either revelation or an aha moment, epiphany, something completed, something being let go of, right? So passing away of something, the letting go of something, the highlight of, there it is kind of, feeling. And it's a transformation, right? It's a jacked up, if you will, moon, right? The full moon is always potent in our lives, but at various times, again, based on your own astrological geometry, it could be impacting you in a big way, and it might not be impacting you at all. It could be impacting you through other people. Like that's what's happening in my chart. It's really me experiencing, this through other people. I'm fine, right? I'm fine, but people around me are not. So I'm experiencing it through others, and others of you will experience it directly. Just depends, again, on the signature in your own chart. And so apparently, my son in law is going to have an angiogram now. Just keeps coming. So now, when we think about the eclipses, then it's about transformation in the bigger sense. If we step back and we look in, it's what is transforming in our lives. And what is typically transforming are things that are no longer sustainable, right? Things that have been going undetected get exposed, the light by the light. Um, the things that you didn't know were happening come up, right? Or the thoughts that you didn't have before come up. So it's kind of it is known to be difficult because of the change factor or the transformation factor in it, but it's usually cathartic in some way, right? The full moon lunar eclipse can bring a close to something that has been hanging around too long, right? Or has been going on too long. So, and the areas that those closures and so forth are happening in um, would be seen through the signs that are involved, and in this case, Libra and Aries. So, with Libra and Aries, what we would see is something to do with balancing our relationships, because Venus is the planet of love and she's the ruler of Libra. Mars is the ruler of Aries. And together, Mars and Venus are the relationships that we have in our lives, right? They bring those things together. So there may be a focus or a need for us to focus on balancing or harmonizing our relationships, our partnerships. So that can be business or our, one-on-one relationships, right? Our anywhere we have a partnership. So we might be needing to evaluate where there's the give and the take, or are we at the always at the receiving end, or are we always at the giving end? That dynamic needs to be explored, perhaps, for some of you. Because the Libran energy of the moon is a sign of diplomatic energy, it is political, in some cases, it's justice, social justice energy, equality energy. So we could be seeing issues associated with fairness and justice, It can bring attention to social justice in particular. It's happening on a bigger scale. And of course, the need for diplomacy. It could be a collective, meaning all of us calling for greater fairness and balance in our societal structures, and witnessing the medical system right now in all of its glory. I say that tongue in cheek. It is time for us to take a look at that system and what can be done. I don't know, but where it's unfair, there can be a call for it to be made more equitable, right? That's a part of, and again, eclipses are, they're not just a one-day event, right? They tend to, like, I've been witnessing this eclipse for the last week and a half or week, right? And then likely, the next 6 months until we have the next lunar eclipse. So they don't happen all at once. Right? So it can be an extended period of time. And it doesn't have to be extended crazy or crazy bad, but it'll pop up, that there's more to the story, and more to the story comes up, right? So whatever the story is that's going on in your life right now around this eclipse is where the pattern is being set for the next 6 months, likely. So a collective call for more fairness and justice in all of the institutions, in the relationships, etc. But Libra is also known for its beauty and aesthetics, its creative energy, its beautifying energy. So maybe it brings more intention to, or in energy to our creative pursuits, to wanting to surround ourselves with beauty, to clean up our environments, perhaps. It could be a time to reassess your personal style, your expression, the colors you wear, the way that you present yourself. I mean, it could be that, especially if this was happening across your first and seventh houses in your chart, it could certainly be that. Decision making and compromise is another kind of touchy area with this lunar eclipse, because Libra, symbolized by the scales, keeps things in somewhat of a harmony, balance, fairness, equitable, equality, right? That's the representing the balance of things. And we need to bring balance to our relationships, but we also need to bring balance to our decision making. To how are we choosing what it is that we're going to do? Right? That's another thing here. So during the eclipse, we may need to make important decisions. Got to remember, you're in the shadow of Mercury retrograde, so decisions need to be more deliberate. You need to check out all your sources. So if you have big decisions to make, you want to see the bigger picture, not just, this is it. I got to say yes or no now. Be willing to see the bigger picture. Um, and the decisions are, can particularly be around our relationships that we're in, getting into or out of partnerships. It could be about legal matters, because a Libra does rule the law. Compromise and negotiation, those are going to be your friends. They could be key themes, right? Not compromises in I'm giving myself away, more like compromise in the sense of creating win-win situations, right? Okay, keeping that in mind. I'm not saying give away the farm. It's all about balance, keeping things in balance. It's a time to seek inner harmony. Very difficult when things are chaotic and crazy, right? On a personal level, this eclipse could prompt us to seek to want to seek more harmony in our lives, or to reflect more on our lives. It could be a great time for introspection, for self, examination, more self-awareness, being brought forward, finding that inner peace, because you're not going to find, as I'm figuring right now, that inner peace is going to come from within me. With all the crazy stuff going on outside of me right now, which I can't control, by the way, I'm not going to find peace outside of me. I have to find it within me. You'll have to find, wherever this configuration is happening in your own life, you're going to have to find that inner peace from within you. All right. And now, when we look at with the gates that the sun and the moon are in from human design perspective, the moon and the earth are in a conjunction during a full moon. So remember I said the Earth was going to be in the gate 18, i.e. the moon is also in the gate 18. So we have a double emphasis then on the gate 18 in your human design, which again is a gate that lives on the spleen center, the center for time, intuition, health, and survival. All those gates, including the 18, can double as fear, right? There's fear. And the fear in the gate 18 is about perfection, right? I'm not perfect. It's not perfect. The time isn't perfect. And so I withdraw or I hold myself back instead of being all in. I withhold myself or I bring, out of a sense of fear. I I don't put my work out or I don't do the next step, right? So we have to watch that. Like the criticalness of that particular thing where, it's very easy for us to see what's out of alignment and prompts us then to want to speak to that. And the gate 18 is very far away from the throat center. It's not a place where we speak without an invitation to do so, right? So if you're addressing something that is out of whack in someone's life or you want to, you know, from a good heart try to be critical, and try to bring someone back into alignment, you cannot do it without their permission to speak to that or to help them with that. Just that'll save us a lot of frustration and personal relationship upset, right? So try not to be nitpicky, try not to be perfectionistic, but also, if you do see something that would better create harmony or flow for someone else, ask them if it's okay if you share your observations or your idea. If they say yes, then they'll accept that in the spirit in which you were giving it. But if you just blurt it, it might not be accepted in the spirit in which you were trying to give it, causing some pressure and bad dynamics. Okay, so Lo says, Janet, I did come late. Did you give the degree yet that it will happen? 5 degrees, 7 minutes of Libra is where the moon is, and 5 degrees, 7 minutes of Aries is where the sun is. So I'm assuming you mean the full moon and eclipse, right? Which means that this is a south node eclipse. And it would not be surprising for issues from the past to come back up during this kind of a window. Something that you thought you'd solved, something that you thought was handled, and apparently it isn't, right? So some things may come back. People that you knew from your past could come back, right? So it could be issues from the past, people from the past, fears or things that you thought you'd handled that rear their heads again in your life in some way. All of that wouldn't be surprising with an eclipse like this, or a full moon even on this horizon. And it wouldn't be surprising anyway, just because of the density of the planets that are all gathered close together in this pattern that we've been in for quite the while, right? So just to let everybody know. So Libra, look for Libra in your chart. That's going to show you where the moon will be. Look for Aries in your chart. That is where the sun will be. And if you can find the sun in Aries, you're going to notice that he is in amongst a bunch of planets, right? That's the bucket thing I've been talking about. Actually, we've been talking about that for a while, right? Because that's been sort of the pattern for a while. And I don't think that pattern breaks even through the spring, right? We started the spring, the year, even if you want to call it the astrological new year, with this pattern. So this pattern stays with us, right? So things can be intense for a while. Lo says, OMG, sitting right in between my moon, 1 degree, and Pluto, 7 degrees in Libra. So whatever house that's in, Lo, is where your aha moment may come, or where something's coming to completion, where you need to be uber aware of boundaries, and that type of thing. I also know you have the gate 17 Don't you in your you do, don't you? It's something in your human design sits at gate 17, and the sun is at gate 17 when the earth is at gate 18. So for this week, from the 24th through the 29th of March, we'll be dealing with those, planetary pressures on the spleen, and the gate 17 is up on the ajna. So our thinking might cause us to do things too quickly without really, the 17 is logic. There's logic in the gate 17. So that is the thinking, the logical reasoning part of ourselves. And there's nothing wrong with logic. I mean, it's all we've learned, really. Nobody in school taught you how to use your other two skills of knowingness and intuition. They taught you how to be logical and reasoning, right? But there can be a tendency then for us to get too much in our minds, too much in our heads and our thinking, and that can cause some problems during this period of time too. So, um, stay out of your head if you can. Get into your heart. The heart isn't being hit in a negative way right now, so get into the heart. I mean, the pressure isn't on there. I thought my son-in-law might be having a heart attack because his father was sent home to die yesterday. I thought he has a broken heart. I didn't know it was going to be a literal heart problem. So, but if you too are experiencing something that seems like it's one thing, look a little deeper and see what it might be showing you. Am I too much in my head? It's creating anxiety or pressure. Am I too emotional? I'm taking in all the emotions around me. And if that's the case, then, you know, get away from all of that emotion. Move yourself out in nature, right? Get away from the source of all the emotion. That's important, especially if you have an open emotional center because you're taking in everybody's emotion. So lots going on. I'm really glad I could be here with you this morning to talk about this. I do not know if I will be here on Monday for all of you. I wish I had a crystal ball. I just don't know. I did take all of my equipment with me to my sister's house this time because I intended to be able to broadcast from her house even. Um, and I will take my equipment with me again if I leave to go. I just don't know. So all I can say is everybody stay cool, stay in your own lane. Remember your type and your strategy. If you've had a human design reading, you know how it is that you are here to use your energy. And let's draw a couple of cards, let's say, for the weekend. And I definitely want to do a Dreamweaver's card. And I think, good God, there's so many different decks I could choose right this moment. I think I'm going to do a Star Codes Astro card. Let's do that one first. Let's see what our star codes are for today, for the weekend. So somebody, SKPC333 says, my North Node is at 5 Aries in the 4th house. What's going on with your home and family, SK? Because that's likely bringing up sort of similar to what's happening in my own life, right? Where I'm being torn between family and career profession. That seems like that might be happening for you as well. The card I got was Pallas Athena, and underneath it, it says the word think, and it's card number 30. So Pallas Athena. I'm trying to figure out, this is her helmet that she wears, the goddess Pallas Athena. So I thought it was a bird at first, but if I step it back a little bit, can you see how it's, her face, her headdress that she wears with the feathers and all of that. So let's see what this says, shall we? Okay, Pallas Athena speaks of a sharp and guarded intellect. Mythological Athena is the goddess of wisdom, intellect, skill, strategy, and defense. Her father Zeus swallowed her mother Metis, goddess of wise counsel and planning, possibly to hide her from his spouse Hera. Athena gave her father a pounding headache that leapt fully grown, then leapt fully grown and completely armored from her father's forehead. This powerful goddess could beat the males at their own game and challenged the world to never underestimate feminine strength and wisdom. Here's the action. Pallas Athena loans you the ability to walk into a boardroom or other professional situation and be ready to take on any challenge, completely in your power with just the right words at hand. Just ask her. Pallas Athena is within you. Speak to her. She can help you navigate the echelons of power. Develop real skills, craft, articulation, and tech genius with her support and your concentration. Connect your trained knowledge, natural abilities, and that spark of divine fire. Just don't overdo the intellectual defenses. Make sure your intelligence and ability to rationalize don't cause more problems than they solve. Take off your helmet in the bedroom. Inventory yourself and see if you, like Athena, underestimate the power of the feminine heart or emotional intelligence. Keep that mind connected to your heart. Here's the challenge. Wherever you are on the gender spectrum, do not think you need to deny or disrespect the feminine, the anima, and the heart in yourself and others in order to access brilliant intelligence and competence. Here's the gift. Ask for help when you need it, and divine answers will reveal themselves. You can think through this situation with a combination of rigorous logic and a real curiosity about the truth, all connected to an open heart. It's a good one. So that's Athena. She's our star code. And let's look at the dream weavers, right? See what I did there, right? This is so Piscean and this one is so Aries. It works out. All right, so let's see what the dream weavers say. This one is When the Weavers Call Your Heart. It is card 34. This is a beautiful card. Take a look at that. Lots of symbology in this card. When the Weavers Call Your Heart. All right, card 34. The essential meaning of the card is love in all its forms, a heart opening experience, romantic love, the experience of showing kindness to others. And it says, yes, love, the quintessential energy of life and the one glittering thread in the tapestry of your life that you cannot do without. This is the one energy that can heal all wounds, that can build bridges, find unity, and bring life into the world. When the dream weavers call your heart, you are being invited to bring the essence of love into your inquiry, to give it freely and wholly, and to receive it fully in the way it's being offered. Perhaps you've begun a new relationship and are wondering where it's going, if there is anything here for you. Can you allow for love to come through without judgment or even measurement? Can you experience it without trying to define it and pin it down? Can you be the love you seek? The experience of kindness is a way, to open the door to love. Can you show kindness to others today for no reason at all, just because you can? Perhaps you can spend quality time with a beloved pet or even send love to a plant. A good question to ask yourself now, if you have any dilemma regarding others or even yourself and the choices you need to make, what would love do? Great question. The universe is calling love to you in all its glittering, life enhancing ways. Keep your heart open, drop your defenses and expectations, and watch the miracles arise as if by magic. Beautiful. When the weavers call your heart. All right, those are great cards. All right, everybody, that is it for me today. I wish you all a wonderful weekend, and I'll keep you posted on what is happening. Take care, everyone. Bye for now.